Ambitious women, entrepreneurs are beginning a movement to create a new way of business that focuses on collaboration and community. Together, we are shaping the way by using our intuition, our inner insight, and our creativity. Join us for inspiration, motivation, and transformation. This is your host, Lucy McMonagle, and this is the Wealthy Wednesday Show. A special thanks to Gordon Reary for creating the music. You can find him on Facebook under Gordon Reary. So now, let's get started. Hey, welcome to another edition of the Wealthy Wednesday Show. This is your host, Lucy McMonagle, and I am known as the Mystic Wealth Creator. And today we are going to create some phenomenal breakthroughs in your life with our featured guest, Linda Wells, who is a passionate and experienced motivational speaker who focuses on the mental stress surrounding business and leadership. She understands the challenges faced by those driven by success, and she has been there. So Linda has found that all achievers want practical, feet on the ground techniques and strategies that actually work in the real world. So in the heat of a moment and also in your daily lives, wouldn't you love to have some tips that you can just instantaneously pop out and use in the heat of the moment right now, every day in your life when you need it? So if that's true for you, please grab a pen, grab a paper, because we have the most incredible individual who's going to help you with these techniques and so much more. So welcome to the show, Linda.
Great. Thanks, Lucy. So wonderful to be here with you and all of your listeners and viewers today.
Wow. Linda, you are so passionate and you're so incredible, might I add, on really empowering individuals with down-to-earth, take it now skills and tips that individuals can use in the real world. Can you tell us just a little bit about your journey and how did you learn from your practical skills and your practical life? How did you come up with these?
Well, Shirley, I started in business and self-employment 15 years ago. And while I was enjoying great success and had that drive, that passion to do what needed to be done in order to have the success, but along the way, there was a very unfortunate byproduct of anxiety. I just couldn't turn off my overactive mind. And that played out for me largely in the evening, where I just couldn't switch off from my business. And I found that I wasn't sleeping well. And if I did sleep, I'd wake up feeling more exhausted. And I just knew that that was not a way to enjoy building a business and achieving what I'd set out to achieve. So yes, I've been there and I know exactly what it's like to experience mental stress.
Wow, absolutely. And I have been there also in the many, many years that I've had businesses. In my earlier businesses, I definitely could have used you and your tips and strategies. Now, speaking about mental stress and anxiety as an entrepreneur, would you say that one of the biggest challenges for the man is when the woman starts the business?
Oh, look, I see this more and more, Lucy, where, us women, we're out there doing it. We're out there changing the world, and we've just got so much to offer in our businesses now. Can run from home, they can be run from anywhere. And this is really starting to threaten our males. And, they're used to being that breadwinner, that provider. And part of their male psyche is, of course, to be the problem solver. And yet here they've got this partner who's thriving, who's loving the challenge of working in their business, and they're feeling threatened by it. So there are lots of things that we can be doing as women entrepreneurs so that we actually can help reduce our partner's anxiety.
Wow. And that is so true. And in some of my businesses, when I started scaling up and making
way more than my partners, they felt threatened because they wanted to take care of and nurture me, and they had nothing they felt, quote unquote, they felt could offer. And so as a woman entrepreneur, and I believe 51% of the women are now starting to take a side business or move forward globally. Don't quote my statistic, they might be a little off, but it's a very, very high percentage of women that are now starting their own businesses. And the men are starting to have anxiety, they're starting to have challenges, and they're starting to feel a little bit displaced. So with that, what should you do as a brand new business owner, as a female brand new business owner or an entrepreneur, to kind of avoid contributing to any of the household conflict or the anxiety or even the resentment that might happen within your man?
Right. Well, Lucy, sometimes our men have their own anxiety. And in fact, if they're running businesses or in busy workplaces, then they've got their own stress. So here they've got another type of stress they've got to deal with when they get home. So it's very important that when a woman is starting her business, or at any stage where there's additional development or we're heading off in another direction, it's really important to involve them in some discussion. Sometimes I think that, that our partners can read our minds, but of course they can't. So just taking some time to sit down and really plan out, just map out where the journey is. And I guess for a lot of us women, we often talk emotionally about what's going on in our business. And, the guys, they just don't want to hear all that. They just want to cut to the chase. So I always say, have a board meeting, sit down with your business plan or what you've got, in your progression for the next month or two, and just take them through the steps. And you'll find that really will alleviate their worry as to what you're doing, how you're doing it, where's the money coming from, what money's coming in. Because once they know, they get it. And that can really help stop that build-up of anxiety around the woman starting her business, or, as I say, developing an ongoing stream of income.
Wow. Wow. And that's so important. And as women entrepreneurs, we do talk about the stresses of our business. And as a woman, I normally like to talk about it to unravel the stress. And men just, they don't quite understand it. And if you're with your partner, or you're seeking to be with a partner, really starting to have the skills of sitting down, and men are linear in thinking, and they like to see things step by step, if I'm correct. And so if you just show them on a piece of paper, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm shooting for, these are the steps I'm taking, they're like, oh, now I get what you do. And then a lot of times they'll become your best supporter because they get it. Is that at all correct?
Yeah, oh, totally, Lucy. You actually want your partner on board, because when you're on a journey, you're better to have a co-driver. You're better to have somebody that's driving there with you, not somebody sitting in the back seat. So most important to have those discussions. And I guess too, Lucy, there are a lot of things that we can be doing, particularly if we're running a business from home, as a lot of women are. That's the beauty of the world internet now. And often women find that they will let the time slide, that, I'll just answer that email, or I'll just pick up the phone and check on what's going on there. And our men notice that. So if they've got some anxiety already around what you're doing, or they're bringing it in from their own workplace, then we can actually add to it by not having a separate space, a separate time. One person said to me recently, my partner said to me, all I see is the back of you as you're sitting on your computer or on your laptop. So, there's some areas that we need to actually contribute to make sure that when we're on track, when we're into relationship, family time, that we're fully engaged in that, because that will help the male there too.
Oh, wow. That is so important to understand. And it's so easy to grab your cell phone, you're sitting there, you're watching TV, and he might look like he's like completely content with watching TV, but they notice. They notice when you grab the cell phone and you're like, and you're just not there. All of a sudden you're answering client emails, you're taking care of this, you're taking care of that. And before you know it, the movie's over. They're acting frustrated, or maybe they might even be freaking out, but you're not even sure about it. So how would you know, as a woman entrepreneur, how would you know if he's starting to freak out?
Well, look, really, you've got to tune in. And, this is one of the things for us women. It's so exciting in our businesses, and we can get really caught up in, what's going on and who we're chatting to next and the various things on the go. And so we've just got to make sure that we take the time to tune into our man, because they will exhibit signs of anxiety. So just very quickly, some of the signs that you'll notice is they start to be withdrawn. So they just want to be by themselves. They're just not that guy that you met, that you've been spending time with, that, where you engaged in activities together, either in the home or outside the home. So they tend to like staying at home. They don't want to socialise. Often there will be just those sudden outbursts of not so much anger, but just sort of raised voice. And it sort of can take you back a bit. And you think, gosh, what's going on? When they're not normally like that. And also you just notice they're tired. They just get very lethargic, because when you're dealing with anxiety, it's a head game, and it takes a lot of energy away from your body that you would normally use for doing things and, getting on top of your game. So just really observing the signs, withdrawing, not sleeping very well, and just in particular, you just sense that there's not that same emotional connection. And I don't want to go into the physical connection, but, hey, sometimes it plays out in the bedroom as well. So just being aware, just noticing the signs will be a great start.
Wow. And that's really important to understand. So when you start noticing that he's withdrawing, quote unquote, giving you your space so you can do your business, pay attention to that, because he might not be giving you your space. He might actually be freaking out, but he doesn't want to add any more stress to you because he loves you and he wants you to succeed. So when he starts withdrawing like that, pay attention to those signs, ladies. It could definitely help you become more successful, because then you'll keep the connection nice and strong with your partner and be fully engaged when you are spending time with him. Wow. So how would a woman entrepreneur help keep the man calm, and how to reassure him that he's still very important to you? Because a lot of times we get so excited about our business and we're online and we're starting to reach people who are way up here, like people who are famous, and we're becoming somewhat of a celebrity online too. So how do we reassure him that he's still very important to us, so that your business doesn't break up your relationship?
Oh, this is so important, Lucy. And look, one of the first things I always say after noticing, we just got to take that time to notice what's going on. And then once we are aware that there is some anxiety, is to actually just give them some space. What men don't like is they don't like a lot of chatter. They don't like a lot of, this person said that, and then I said that, and then this happened. They don't like that. So particularly when they come home from their workplace, or if they're working from home themselves, when they come into the family space, they actually just need to sit. Sometimes it's with the TV, it might be looking at their smartphone, catching up on the news, but they just need a little bit of space before we actually talk about our day. So giving them some space is important. One of the key things too for relieving anxiety is to make sure that there's sufficient physical exercise. So sometimes it's as simple as after dinner saying, hey, gorgeous still out there in the evening, let's go for a walk. Getting them out, getting them some space out in the fresh air. Certainly being able to suggest in a way that you're noticing they're experiencing anxiety can be a key. Now, us women, we've got to be very careful how we give help to our men, because in reality, they don't want help. They know they need support, but hey, they're problem solvers. They don't want all this nurturing stuff going on, and yet this is what they need when they are feeling anxious. We've actually got to show them the love. So sometimes it's as simple as saying, hey, I'm just noticing, just feeling a bit of stress, not asking them, are you stressed? But just I'm noticing that a little bit of stress there. What can I do to help? So we don't want to ask, can I help? Because they're going to say, no, I'm not stressed, me. So just being able to say that in a way that allows them to say, well, yeah, actually I am. And then, of course, it's always about being able to find the kind of support that men need, because they're wired differently to women. They handle their stress totally differently. And it's very challenging for a woman to actually help somebody who they're close to, who they love dearly, and want to support. And so it's about finding someone that can actually support them, because anxiety doesn't have to be a component of the relationship, of the engagement between two people. So getting that good support for a male is most important. So doing that, and I always say, sometimes you just got to take some extra care with making some, lovely meals, some healthy, nutritious meals, just making them a smoothie, for example, when you know that they could do with a boost. Just having those wonderful vegetables and lean meats and fish and chicken, just taking a little bit of love. I always say, when someone's anxious, they need to be shown the love. And it's quite strange, isn't it? Because they're putting a bit of a shield around themselves. They're withdrawing from activities, from social engagement. And yet what they need most is to be felt cared for. So there's a lot that we can do. We don't want to mother them. I've seen guys and they say, God, my partner's trying to mother me. I don't need that. I don't need that fuss. So doing the care in a way that is very supportive, and just spending some quality time with them. If there's children, get a babysitter. Plan a lovely meal at home, or go out to that walk. So there are lots of things that women can be doing to just reassure their man that, hey, they're okay, that you still love them, that this can be worked through.
Wow. Well, you were mentioning get a babysitter and make a lovely meal, or do something, and that really your something might be have a planned date night, or have a planned night where it's you, it's him, whether you actually leave the house or you sit home and you watch a movie on Netflix, or any of the variety YouTube sites or channels that you can watch TV or a movie on. That really helps with the bonding with your man, and it also helps to reassure him that your business isn't taking too much precedence over him.
Mm-hmm.
And
definitely, and you can choose a funny movie better still, because that's what they're not doing. They're just not getting the fun, the enjoyment, the laughter. So laughter is a great reliever of stress. We know that, particularly for anxiety. Just got to lighten things up. So yeah, great movie in, get some food, some takeout or whatever, and just enjoy, and just go slowly. I always say to the women, take it bit by bit. We don't want to rush in there and think we can solve their problems. And, if it goes on for a month or 2 or 3, then that they need some kind of support from, an expert who's actually trained in helping men with their anxiety.
wow, yeah, that is so incredibly important. And some of the men, they really don't want to sit down. They don't want you to go through the business plan. They don't even want to know what you're doing in your business. And yet they just really, they're not sure how to handle it, because a lot of men, because they're problem solvers, if they see you struggling, they want to solve your problem. So for the ones that don't want to see it, is there some type of techniques? Is there something that the women entrepreneurs can do to kind of let the guys know? Or how does that work?
Well, sometimes it can be as simple as, how much money's going in and how much money are you making? And we all know sometimes, depending on the business, we're ploughing a lot of money back in, and it seems like that it's forever going out. So sometimes just nuts and bolts, here's the spreadsheet, here's the balance sheet, and this is where we're heading. Because if they can see money's coming in, that you're actually earning, even if that money's going back and reinvesting in your business, that really keeps them happy. The other thing too, Lucy, that we can do is, set some little milestones. So for those guys that really don't need to know it all, but hey, just want some reassurance, just, when it be maybe your first client, you might say, well, when I get my first client, we're out to dinner, or when I've had my 10th client, or when I've landed my first big contract, or my first radio show, or whatever it is, plan a little event and let them know that when you reach that milestone, we're celebrating together, and that's how you can bring them on board. Remember, we don't want our men in the back seat of our journey. We want them as the co-driver. We want them there seeing what we see, hearing what we hear, and feeling what we feel to the degree that suits for them. So those guys that don't want to know it all, but need to know enough, it's often around the money. And as I say, just celebrate those little milestones as you go to involve them. That keeps them really happy and on track too with what you're doing.
Oh yeah, that's fabulous. That's absolutely brilliant. To just give them a quick little, this is the money coming in, this is the money coming out. This is where I'm at, and this is where I'm going. Real short and sweet. Maybe even put it in little boxes, or I envision in little boxes, but I'm sure you could just do a spreadsheet just as easily. So, what's the most important thing that you need to understand in relation to the man and any anxiety that he might be experiencing around you, your work or your business? Is there one most important thing over all the other important things, or what is that?
I think, Lucy, the most important thing for a woman entrepreneur is to understand that the anxiety is temporary. It's not a permanent thing. And yet if they don't get the support that they need, if they don't actually change what's going on in their thinking, because it all starts there with that mental stress, that mental anguish, and if it manifests out in their feelings and their actions, it's not permanent. But if they don't get the help, the support that they need to change it round, then it's going to drive further. And so there becomes, that widening, and before long you're thinking that you're not with the right person, that you haven't got the support that you need. And yet if the help had been put in their way, if they were directed to the right kind of support, then the anxiety wouldn't be driven further deep inside. Because remember, they're not going to talk about it. It's not a man's world to talk about their emotions, how they're feeling, and what's going on at that level. And so what happens is it gets driven further. And then we're into serious stuff, obviously, in terms of the relationship. So understand anxiety is temporary, providing they get the right support and learn the strategies and the techniques, get those feet on the ground tools, they can turn it around. And I've had clients, males, who after one session of working with them, they've got a spring in their step. They just feel relief. They feel enlightened that the weight that they've been carrying on their shoulders is actually starting to lift, and they foresee a time when they won't be experiencing the anxiety. So it's very important, I think, that whole aspect of anxiety and how it plays out for the man.
Wow, that's really important. And you mentioned something that actually reminded me that if they get the proper support. Now, if they're not getting the proper support, they're having anxiety, they're not telling you they have anxiety because they might not even be able to identify what that feeling or emotion is. Is there any red flags that might alert the woman entrepreneur on what she needs to look at, and how does she handle that?
Always for the woman, she will feel the disconnect. So when men with their different wiring in their brain, when they experience anxiety, they just can't cope with the emotion of that anxiety, and so they start dissociating from it. And us women, we notice that, we feel it, we sense it. So as soon as you start noticing it, that's the time to start putting in place those, activities that I mentioned that will reassure them. Because all it is about they need to know that they're okay, that they're still such an important part of your life, even though there's this wonderful business going on, that they still are the keystone. They're still the co-driver of the journey that you're on together, and just being able to reassure them with those activities. So really being able to notice and feel the disconnect. You may notice it if you've got children, that they just don't want to engage quite so much. They're part of the family, but it's almost as if they're there in body, but not in mind and spirit. So being able to really, as soon as you see that kind of stuff, that you feel that disconnect of emotion, that's the time that you've got to really start working together before it actually escalates into something that, I have seen cases, of course, where it's just so far down the track, and I often think, gosh, if only they'd got that support, if only somebody had noticed and really pointed them in the right direction, then we wouldn't have the huge upset. And regret often is a big part of that end result. So yeah, us women, we have a big part to play.
Wow. Wow, that is really a big part. And you actually have a free gift that you're giving my audience that's going to help them to leave this anxiety in the dust. Can you tell me about your free gift and how can people access it?
Great. Yes, I've written a free gift for people today. So it's called Stop Spinning Your Wheels. Sometimes it feels like there's a whole lot of movement, but we're not getting any traction. So stop spinning your wheels, leave your anxiety in the dust. And it's 4 simple steps. A big part of what the gift is it's got some charts there where you can really start assessing with the person that you're living with there with regard to their anxiety and how it's playing out. Because sometimes we don't acknowledge that anxiety is actually the cause of some of our behavioural actions, some of our emotional responses, and obviously some of our mental issues. So there's a great little chart in there. Now, I don't suggest for a moment that the females sit down their blokes and go, hey, we need to tick through this sheet and see where you're lacking. But it's something that when the woman reads the report, they can bring that to the attention of their lovely man in a way that's supportive, and let's just see if there is a problem, if it is something that requires further attention. Because remember, Lucy, the sooner they get onto it, the sooner they get out of that trap, that that byproduct of anxiety which they've created in their own mind. So the free gift, they can go to my website, outcomesunlimited.co.nz, click on there, get the free report, and that'll get into your inbox, and is a wonderful start to having some discussions. Read it first, obviously, and then you can use that to create some really useful conversation with your man. Let him know that he's feeling, you feel the love and that you want to support him.
Absolutely. And we do have the link in the description of the show. So if you missed the link, please make sure you reread the description. It's going to be in there. And Linda, is there any last nuggets of wisdom that you'd like to leave our audience before we wrap up?
Well, other than to say, it's just been wonderful being here and being able to talk with women about the anxiety their man may be experiencing and how you might go about handling it. I just think, women, we are the nurturers. Even when we're running our high-powered businesses, our exciting worlds, and our connecting with people all around the world, we still have and I always say it's a lovely responsibility to nurture and care. They are still the same person. It's just they've got some stuff going on in their head. I call it mental stress. They've got some rewiring that needs attention. They've got some wiring that, is short-circuiting. So just be that one that loves and cares and takes the time, making sure that you make the time and supporting them and getting that kind of support that they need. So we have responsibilities, and the last thing any of us would want is our man to feel like they're in the back seat of our lives. So we want to get them right, sitting there up front, right beside us, and sharing and experiencing the joy and success that we're striving to have. So yeah, be the one that takes that nurturing role in this area as well. Can be tricky at times. I'm not suggesting it can be easy, but I do work with women too who, sometimes need some help in this area, because if you're experiencing anxiety yourself, then it's actually quite challenging to work with anyone else in the family that's got anxiety. So take on board that role. That's our role, girls, and just do what you can to show them the love.
Wow. Well, absolutely fabulous. Thank you, Linda, for being on the Wealthy Wednesday show. And I am so grateful that you've taken time out of your busy schedule all the way from New Zealand to be on the show and to be able to really empower the women entrepreneurs that are taking the world by the storm so that they can still have powerful relationships at home. Wow.
Wonderful. Thank you,
wonderful.
Lucy. Absolutely wonderful to be here.
And I would like to thank my audience. You're the reason why I have the Wealthy Wednesday show every single week. And if there's a certain topic that you would like me to touch upon, if there's an expert guest that you would just love me to reach out to and see if they would be on my show, please drop me a line on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Wealthy Wednesday Show. And I'd be more than happy to see if I can provide you with the topics, the tips, or the expert that you're looking for. So until next time, abundant blessings. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Wealthy Wednesday Show. This is your host, Lucy McMonagle, and I would love to keep in touch with you by giving you a very special gift that will help you move your business and your life forward. You can access this special gift I am giving to you at my website at lucymcmonagle.com. That's lucymcmonagle.com for keeping in touch with me and getting access to a gift that will help you move your business and life forward. Until next time, abundant blessings.